All right, let me know when you see the disclaimer. Got to show the disclaimer first. All right, let me know when you see the disclaimer.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget to cut your volume all over. Mute your volume on your YouTube shit. I actually popped out my chat. You know, you can pop your chat out and minimize your YouTube browser. Save a little space on your desktop. Let's get it on and popping. Let's get it on and popping. See what we're gonna do today. Okay. What kind of news we got coming out today, bro? I think we had some
Uh,
news that came out at
Listen, Blue Horseshoe loves Blue Star Airlines. Got it?
was that
got
8:45 when news came
uh,
out?
9:45. We got manufacturing purchasing managers, and we have services purchasing managers.
At
Those
9:45?
are
I don't have nothing at 9:45. Let me make sure my settings is correct. I see the 8:30 stuff. You got something coming out at 9:45?
I hope I'm not 24 hours behind.
Man, I hope you ain't 24 hours behind either.
And then 10 o'clock.
No, no, dude, you behind. Oh, oh, let's back that up. 10:30 crude oil just popped up. Okay. Yeah, I'm showing. You look on the screen. I'm showing retail sales. Core retail sales came out at 8:30. Retail sales, MM. All this is medium. Durable goods at 8:30. Durable goods at 8:30. Then you got I think this is China or the yuan in euro. That's 9 o'clock, and then 10:30 you got crude oil futures or crude oil inventories. That is. We are looking at a doji on the outside day to day, slightly to the upside. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Cume deltas plus 38, plus 3,900. Right now, I'm not looking to do anything. I hope we see some action like yesterday on the Cume Delta. That'll make me move. Yep.
Okay, that makes it better.
You corrected?
I did correct it.
Ah, okay.
Just trying to keep up with you here. We do have a little outside day popping off the bottom. Made a little noise popping off the bottom on the daily chart. Now we have small range right now. At least it is an outside pop.
Listen, Blue Horseshoe loves Blue Star Airlines. Got it?
Got it.
Right. Marty.
Okay. Let's do a little bit of jumping. What kind of action we got today? Forgive me for kind of being, I was taking a look at these charts. Falling off the open.
Trusty Dusty is basically unchanged, down 44.
Positive on the Cume Delta, albeit somewhat neutral,
Right.
3 to 4,000. Sellers definitely have taken over this bit of a move wave.
I don't know, that daily, that doji showing like that, man, we might get a. I'm thinking a move to the downside today on the daily. I'm only thinking.
Let's see what the market has to say about all of this.
It's almost, I almost feel like it's going to be pretty much a quiet day today.
I'm sure with the action of yesterday, there are a lot of traders that are extremely comfortable about right now.
Yeah, you're right.
I like to see how the reaction comes from yesterday, because it's almost like yesterday was one of those days that everything fell in line so well. You know, you can't believe it, but you can only kind of wait and see what day you're given and deal with the deal with the horse that brung you. Okay, got a little lower high action. See what we get. I'm still leaning a little bit negative, but literally long-term charts are longer.
What's that? Your 48?
Yeah, 48. This is a mere pullback.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, it's the beginning of a pullback that hopefully doesn't turn into a runner to the downside, let's say.
I don't mind which way it go.
You know, right now that's kind of the attitude I'm in as well.
Listen, Blue Horseshoe loves Blue Star Airlines.
Got a little POC Tupac action
Marty.
to the upside. See if we can possibly pull something off out of this area. We can get a down up without breach.
Got a POC wave. Not on
17.
not on Baltos though.
I'm in at 17. Close of a bar to the upside. If we can get that.
You're in at 17, you say?
Yeah, if we get a punch up there. If this bar closes 17, I'll take a peek. Take a couple of contracts on this one.
All right, let me you want me to set that up?
Why not, my friend? You better hurry up before it happens, though. I'll be mad at you for giving me the terrible feel.
You're in now, right?
1950, the first target. We're going to be conservative, and we're going to put the second target somewhere around 22.
You're long or short?
I'm long, my friend. I'm
Oh, that's what I
long.
thought. And where you putting the first target? 19?
19 half.
Sorry, man. Wrong ATM strategy. You're making money by mistake.
I'm following the last one on the bottom.
Yeah, I didn't have it set on the right whatchamacallit. You made a couple dollars on that though. Let me
Oh, I'm out. That's a shame. Not for real, I ain't.
and I have a manual. I know how you set your stops because I have a manual.
Trigger. It's just like the trigger line.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a manual strategy for you because I know how you like to move your targets and stuff. And it caught me off guard, man. You got to be a little quick when you want me to get in, man.
No, it's quite all right now. Last target will be 22 if we get there.
I'm out, man. You made 166 on your shit, man.
Just letting everybody know I'm actually still in. I'll be out at 1875 on an ATM strategy now. Nothing I can do about it.
Is that where your stop is?
It's the choke now, yeah, around
Okay.
18 3/4, which is locking in 7 ticks, 8 ticks, somewhere in that area.
Right. And what was your entry on that?
Entry was 17 even.
17 even. Okay.
And I try to stay 2 to 3 ticks inside of the tunnel band at the
Right.
top. So that's usually an ultimate target for me, at least a hard target if I can keep running. It's like we're gonna get popped.
Well, you got to beat yourself, man, because I did 166 for you on your demo. You got to beat that, man. You got to beat your own competition, man.
Still trying to it's not making up his mind here. Don't like that. I just got popped 18 3/4. So I took 7 ticks out of the last one.
Okay.
Not a whole lot. Just wanted to stick my toe in the water, see if we could get a little run. Looks like we're going to get a little piece.
What's total amount of ticks you got?
This was only 17 ticks.
Okay.
10 on the first one. A little short target on the first one. 10 on the first one, when normally it's a 12. Because we don't have a definite trend per se.
Right.
This was based on that experimental trade that we were taking. It's been looking good the last few days, so I decided to put a little bit of cash to that.
Okay.
But for the stream, that's pretty much where we were.
Next time, speak up, man, so I can get you in at the right price, man.
Hey, man, as long as they got the idea of why we're doing it. Now, I will kind of go through it very quickly. The bar at 931.41. If you could pull up a 12-hour chart, that would help.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, the 931.41 bar, down bar. A lot of little tricks on it, high volume, what have you. Well, that's the second bar back on the POCs. As far as we have 4 down bars in that area,
Right.
but it's the second POC back on the down bars. I literally will take a line all the way across, and if I see a POC with an up bar that closes above that POC on the up bar, I am now giving myself a go to the upside. This is a temporary momentum trade. It will catch runners, but you don't want to see a lot of back and forth action on these once you enter the trade. What I'm waiting for after I get a POC break like that is 1 down bar and 1 up bar that does not penetrate 2 bars back. As you can see, we have a 3 up situation on the upside. So if you count 2 POCs back, I don't want to see that penetrated before I see another up bar. So the trigger bar for me would have been
Why you go so
937.04.
far back?
Huh?
Why you go so far back? For
Because
the POC.
this whole thing, listen to me, the whole thing about this is I want, first of all, to feel like we are in a positive situation in that direction. I'm going back 2 POCs and I am waiting for a POC break, not a price break, not a close above.
Hold
If
on,
I get a close above, I also want to see a POC.
let's go back to that 931 bar, right? That's a
Yes,
down bar, and you got a delta of minus 262 or something around that area.
correctly.
Okay, so what was your reason for getting in?
My reason, first of all, for getting in is if you look 1, 2, 3, 4 bars later, you have an up bar with a POC that is above that POC. That's
One
the only
tick. I got
POC I
one
was
tick.
keying on.
Right. I got one tick above that.
Correctly. You've got 2 choices here. You can take an aggressive entry and you can literally get in on that bar if you choose to. I take a very conservative entry where I want to see a pullback, which may not happen the next bar, but I want to see a pullback and a turn back up again, preferably with high volume, preferably not dead, but I want literally to see a price action of a pullback, and the next bar would be the key, which happened at 937. All based on the fact that I've got a wave that's a wider wave than just a POC wave.
All right. I gotta take all that in.
Take it in, because every time I get 2 in a row to the upside, 2 in a row to the downside, I am literally looking at the POC that was formed 2 bars back.
Okay.
If I find that there is a POC that closes above that, because that's to me is giving me a short-term signal that there may be more action in that direction if I can get a POC to close above it with an up bar. This is totally a POC trade. It has much less to do with the volume. You would like to see the volume and all your clues in between it, but it's strictly a POC key. So if you see 3 in a row, count 2 POCs back. Once you get a POC below that, if it's a down bar and a POC close, that's saying to you that you have more strength in buyers than sellers. Sellers than buyers temporarily for your next wave. I'm a wave trader. Remember that now. So yeah, this is my first exposure to actually walking this forward. That's why I'm not necessarily looking at it with a 3 lot. 2 lot is a little bit much for me to expose, but a lot of these trades tend to be followed by some movement. And I know what you're going to do, which I would expect you to do. I would expect you to go back home, get your cup, and then realize you're going to need a pot of coffee. Because it took me, actually, I was researching the POC wave when this came up.
Okay. What's up, fly guy? Magic took an early morning trade. Early morning trade, came out with 17 ticks. He's trying to whip some new stuff on me.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll go into the laboratory without talking to each other and start exposing it a little bit at a time. Most times it's because, forget the language, but we don't like to present a whole lot of BS. And we do a lot of theory on this channel, practical theory based on FootPrint. So a lot of times you'll see us introduce something that maybe you haven't thought of. And maybe you can use, maybe not. But right now, I'm coining this trade the Tupac trade. And that's POC not PAC, but this is the Tupac trade. I'm looking back 2 POCs and I'm waiting for closes and breaks above it. Now there are rules on the side. Yes, if you get a break of the POC with another POC, but it's a down bar, that's not a go to be buying necessarily, because you really want to see action moving in the direction that the POC is getting broke, or fading the action that the first POC you're trying to break. So right now, when I'm looking at a chart, the key POC to me comes in around the 9:37 time on the up bar. That's the last time you've had 2 bars, 3 bars in a row. You look back 2 POCs. So 17 would be a very interesting area for me to start thinking about decisions to short if I can get those conditions to actually apply. Again, this is still in experimental stages, but it's starting to look good enough that I just figured I would expose it a little bit, especially since I was going to be forced to explain why in the hell would I take that trade.
One thing you guys might realize here on this channel is we're just shooting ideas back and forth. We give some basic ways that we're reading the footprint. And if you got any questions, do not hesitate to ask. If you got any questions, just basic questions, do not hesitate to ask. This is just like a coffee house. We're looking at footprint charts. Everybody who looks at a footprint has a different idea or a different way of trading. So, you know, like I said, yesterday, I said, you can sit down 100 people and you're going to get 100 different signals. So we're always interested in the way some people pull trades on footprint. So, you know, your ideas and your questions are welcome. We got the QM Delta sitting at plus 6,000. We got a slight doji on the daily. On the E-mini daily. NASDAQ is pushing forward. Dow futures, wow, the Dow futures is actually down on the daily. But yep, I'm just going to sit here and wait to see if I get a trade today.
Again, just a reminder, we got some news popping this morning.
Dude, you keep talking about news. Where's the news at? I'm looking at...
Oh, durable goods was at 8:30. Your fault, my mistake. All right, I got it straight now, man. I really do.
No, man.
I was looking at my daily chart.
I'm going to write you a speeding ticket, man.
At least it's not a pink slip yet. I'm good with that.
Okay. Let's see what we're working with here. So, hey, Fly Guy, what footprint are you working with? Are you working with footprint inside of Ninja Trade, or are you working with a footprint inside of Thinkorswim? Just curious.
Just curious.
Listen, Blue Horseshoe loves Blue Star Airlines.
Okay, got a POC wave alert here.
Marty.
But not on Valtos. Got a POC wave alert on the TDU. Nothing to write home about, I don't think. Nothing to write home about. We are above the moving average on the QM Delta.
Like to see what kind of reactions we're going to get up here. Most of my long-term charts have kind of denoted that this was all pullback action. Long-term charts are sitting on the top half of these tunnels. So I'm still right now, you got to convince me that I'm supposed to be taking a short that might run someplace.
Plus 7,000 now in the Cumes. We are headed toward the
Cuma definitely
8,000
moving
or
up.
9,000 mark.
Notice we went up into these tunnels and we started decelerating, or you had 778 in Delta going up, and then you kind of exhausted some of the buyers here. We only went to 265, so that's not ever a good thing to decelerate when you're trying to go into a resistance area. Pay attention to those numbers.
Morgan K says he's not interested in shorts till it gets to 5130. 5130. Why is that the magic number? That's right above where the session highs. I got the session highs at 28 3/4.
28 3/4. Yeah. You know, Morgan K's in there with that Frankenstein laboratory of his. It's good that you have certain thresholds, though, that you believe in. That's always helpful when you see a footprint clue come up, because you tend to be more apt to be aggressive on it. I certainly don't like to see a decelerating bar and then have a turnaround. So from pivot to pivot, we do have some, we have less interest on the buyer side. We have a 22 versus 70.
I got 23, man.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I couldn't find that other dude. He was hiding. But it's a few guys up there that's less than what it was the last time it went up in this area. Regardless, we are at least looking at the two pivots, and we are assuming that this will create a pivot simply because we got down bar action.
So we got less buyers up there in that area. 23 versus 70.
Understand, it's a little bit of divergence because you've got your delta numbers from bar to bar do not reflect the same type of entity, in that you've got more buyers on a particular bar as well. So it's not just glaring at you that everything's lining up, which was a subject matter that we kind of wanted to cover today anyway. Yesterday, everything lined up. I mean, I can't imagine somebody saying, you know, this is very confusing to me. The trend's not right. The profile's not right. You know, it was very hard to be confused about the way the market reacted yesterday. You don't find very many days that you just feel like at the end of the day that was pretty predictable. It's always a curve that you're thrown. But yesterday was one of the few days, I would say maybe you'll see that 30% of the time, that trend matched indicators, matched clues, matched bias, matched condition, whatever it is you trade by, however it is you go at the market.
Yeah, we got follow through. Definitely got follow through yesterday.
Yesterday, when you had a trading idea and you got in, you know, if it moved in your direction, you got follow through. Overall, it should have been enough opportunities that, you know, presented some fairly easy opportunities without having to wait too long. So I tend to be very cautious after days like that, because what I found is not the market that throws me a trick. It's usually me.
Yeah, because you're looking for the same thing that happened yesterday to happen today. So
You swear yeah. I mean, you really want that to be that way.
Yeah.
Be careful. Make sure you trade what, you know, your philosophies have always preached to you, because it's very hard to get caught in the trap that I saw this yesterday and expected to do the exact same thing. A lot of times I'll tell someone that I'm working with, you know, this is true until it's proven differently. And you've got to keep that open mind on the back end that if this doesn't happen, then this is not working for me.
We are down 31 on the cash, Dow cash, and up 113 on the NASDAQ, and the E-mini is starting to follow suit.
Still got a ton of cum right now, at least in neutral territory. We're on the high end of being neutral, right around the 4,500 to 5,000 plus. If I'm really looking at charts right now, I would be looking at my bands to be, I'd be buying the bottom type bands at this point. That's where my interest would be, in those locations. Looking for clues to set up some buys at this point in time. If I know Top Step well, he's not really interested because he doesn't like the cum numbers. And he's got a lot of scars and bruises on his arms messing around with neutral cums. Higher time frame charts, 5130 area. Fly Guy likes the shorts as well. Clear down to the 60s. Looks like a premature move. Not going to get you a chance to get in. Again, that Tupac move happened on happened to the downside this time. Keying in on the bar at 950. POC that happened on 950, which is 2 bars back. Again, it can start out confusing, but when you start seeing the same rhythm over and over, and then the breakout bar or the service bar would have been around 955, where you have a down bar that's below that 2 bar back again, which is why I call it Tupac. And an aggressive trader, if you wanted to take it at that point, would see some follow through. In my situation, I'd probably be waiting for a close on the downside, and I'd be keying on the bar again, 956, which is 2 POCs back of 2 bars, 3 bars down. So I'm always looking at the second down bar back or the second up bar back. I'm looking at that POC because what I found in some small sampling, I would say, of research, a lot of times when you find POCs that breach that second bar, there's action that follows through in that direction. In this case, this was a down bar signal, and it's not 100%. No, again, this is not a holy grail, but it is some sort of a signal that if you have a downward bias, this may be something that could interest you as far as where your momentum would lie. This is strictly a POC look. This is not necessarily keying in on any other signal. It's a pattern formation based on POCs, and it's a momentum play based on a breakout of POCs. It got interesting, so I kept looking and I kept looking. I think I announced last week I was still kind of walking it through. I took a couple of trades yesterday that worked out fairly well, and then I said that's unfair because everything worked out yesterday. So I thought I would, continually take a look at it again today. So today I'm actually sharing it a little bit more just to let you know where my ideas are and what I am paying a lot of attention to right now. So I'm just calling it a Tupac wave.
Cum deltas came off as semi-highs, 71, came off of 71.44. We're back down to dancing on the 4,000 line of the Cum delta. Not interested in taking anything right now. I'm just going to sit back and watch for a minute and see what happens here. You are looking at a 15R. This is a 15 range. Some people trade 15. Magic trades a 12. You know, I've known people to go back as far as on the internet. I do watch the internet a lot just to see what people are trading. They might go back as far as 8 range and 10 range, whatever you feel comfortable with. And if you're seeing those signals consistently come, then you found a niche. Show y'all guys something that my eyes just came onto. I'm not quite feeling a long or short right now. I'm looking at this minus 150 here, and I'm looking at this minus 849 there. This minus 849 delta, I don't know if that's telling me the shorts can't carry on or whatever, but not quite feeling the short yet. Not quite feeling the short yet. This is almost a load shot. I call load shots. Actually, I got my load shot indicator, or not indicator, but alert set at 1,000 or more. So that would have to be minus 1,000 or more in order for it to catch my attention. Then too, depending on what time frame you're using, if you're using an 8 or a 10, you know, you could even lower this number, or not lower it, but increase it more to, you might want to go like minus 700 or whatever the case might be, depending on your what your threshold number is in order for a dead bar. Dead bar, I consider a dead bar when the bar is up and the delta is red, or the bar is down and the delta is green. And yes, that was a Magic did mention this double top up here, 70 versus 23. 70 buyers right here, but then it teetered out or petered out. And we got 23 right here. We did get a fall there. So that was not a bad call on a short. Let's see what else caught my attention on that double top. Cum Delta wasn't in sync either. He had more Cum Delta on that double top. So I probably wouldn't have messed with it by the time I looked down at the Cum Delta, but you do have a delta of plus 101 versus a minus 183. So you got 2 out of 3. That's a way of looking at it. I know in Bloodhound you can do stuff like that, you know, just bringing Bloodhound into the picture real quick. If you got 2 out of 3 signals on one particular trade you're looking for, you can pull a trade. You Gary, say something, Magic?
What caught my attention as well was something I had mentioned before it happened, but the delta started decreasing as we were going up into that tunnel again. We went from 787, then we went to 778, which is a small fall off. Then we went to 265, you know, which decreased again. And I'm saying, what's really going on? That's when the double top started catching my attention.
Right.
Now, if we don't have
a plus on your side also, that was a plus on that side also.
Yeah. When I start arguing about it, and I'm not sure, either I'm going to take a 1 lot or not touch it at all. And the last thing for me was you had Cum Delta over 5,000, which makes me start questioning, you know, because my threshold is 7,500, so I was at 7,000 at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I'm not sure exactly what I should do. So a lot of times sitting on your hands can be a little embarrassing to see something go your way, but at the same time, you haven't lost anything. Pushing back up. See if we got enough, a little bit of meat on the bone. Yep. Morgan's long.
$28 3/4, man. You asking for a lot, man. Getting a little greedy there, ain't you? Say some slop for the other pigs now. 28 1/4. That's almost the session highs, man. Nice trade, Morgan. Nice trade. CD is treating you well. CD is treating you well. Not a bad acceleration here on the 15. Speaking of that minus 849, then you got a minus 102, so you did gain some buyers there. That little snowflake you see, that's fading momentum. That's fading momentum inside of the Trade Devil, TDU. Didn't go positive. That delta didn't go positive to right there. But if you were going to make a move, I guess the move would have been on this bar right here, this minus 102. But that's not enough for me to make a move. Not quite comfortable with those moves yet. I've taken enough of those. Wasn't feeling it at all. Wasn't feeling it at all. Dow cash is plus 15, not doing nothing. It's the NASDAQ that's surging ahead, up 160 today.
Right now, with the action that's going on, it's almost shaping up to be one of those days where I don't do as much trading. This is not lower low, higher highs, or lower low, lower highs, or higher highs, higher lows today. This is starting to really just shape a nice little box, which is why that 5130 is not a bad number. It might stretch the range a bit. But in all essence, I mean, you could draw a box somewhere between 25 and 05, let's say. We're trading between that. That's a 20-point stretch, but that right now is starting to be more action like range bound, or as we used to call it, an inside day. Although today's action is not inside, it is still reacting in that way. And until we actually show that the momentum is dominant one way or the other, I tend to be a lot more careful. I tend to trade on the edges a lot more, because every time I tend to pop something in the middle after one move and expecting follow through, I've gotten burned enough. I will be very satisfied sitting on the one trade I've had unless I see something really dominant at this point. And this is just a part of my recognition and a part of my experience and my journey on through this. This action for me is range bound. So looking at a static ceiling or a static floor in this being support and resistance, probably not a bad thing. I just get very nervous trading in the middle of bands when I have this kind of condition. So forgive me for sitting out quite a bit. Good morning, Salty. How is it, my man? Got down with flavor. You just got on the 12R. You just got a nice little POC to the down, POC wave to the downside. Single print, finishing on the min, ratio, volume. See what kind of issues you have in this area. Again, for me, this is like in the dead middle. I have no clue what I really want to do. Not as much committal on cum delta to help me make that decision. So, you know, today is one of those days that I will definitely watch Morgan deal with HVN and LVN, and I'll watch Fly Guy deal with TTM and breakouts or whatever helps him, and Salty, whatever it is turning you on today, please let me know, because I have a certain approach for this type of action. And I'm always looking for more and more ways to deal with range bound days. Because right now, that's what I'm looking at. Ever since we made a new high and then made a new low, everything's been in between all day long or all night long since 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And I guarantee you we'll hear Top Step talk more today. Not his type of condition.
I'm an observer, man. I'm just an observer.
You can tell my frustration. I was ready for the same thing to happen again today, man.
I am observing. Yeah, we are trading in between the bands, up and down, up and down, up and down. You can go to a smaller time frame and possibly pull off some nice trades there.
That's where your numbers are going to be, but that's where they're going to be a little bit better. Less exposure, less risk, but at the same time, you may catch one of those, you know, scalps that turns into a runner. But be aware of where your floors and ceilings are right now until this, you know, changes. That's kind of how I'm viewing it. We get down here. Okay, if you really like it in at this area, then that's the area you want to look at. I am on a smaller time frame. We are bouncing off of one of these bands on the bottom side. We are trying to make a double bottom here, 51 versus too many. You know, a lot of things to argue with. That was something else different yesterday. When I got in a trade yesterday, there was very little argument to the other direction. Today, it's like I see something and then I've got 2 or 3 different reasons why the other side looks as good.
And just to make a note, let me show you guys this chart right here. This is how I know we're ranging. When you can draw a range, you can take your range indicator and go from the low to the high. And this range basically started. I drew a high starting at right around 832. And it's been in the same range ever since. I could probably go back a little further and see where it started at. But always, point I'm trying to make is, and I said it the other day, always draw your trend lines and ranges. That way you know it gives you an idea of what the market is doing. It gives you a real good idea of what the market is doing. And don't get no indicator that automatically draws your ranges and your channels for you. You know, you do it by eye. That way, you know, and it's going to confirm, because what I do a lot of times when I draw my ranges, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Pat's price action. When I draw my ranges and I go back and look at the ranges he drew for the day, I'm like, oh, I'm right on time. I am right on time. Yeah, Fly Guy, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. Selling the tops, you can buy the bottoms or sell the tops. Take your pick, but this is not my kind of thing. Yep. But definitely draw your channels and draw your ranges, at least so you have an idea of where the top is and where the bottom is.
Exactly.
Don't use anything that automatically draws it for you. They're always off. I can't stand them indicators. I haven't seen one.
Oh, and you have to wait. You have to wait 2 or 3 bars before it actually forms as well.
Yeah, I have yet seen one that has impressed me. So yeah, that's a good idea. Selling the tops, I would not disagree with you at all.
And here's the whole thing. I actually am leaning more toward buying the bottom simply because my longer range charts are pointed to the upside more than the downside. That would be my reason for buying the bottoms, although I don't disagree with selling tops, because that's the kind of day we got.
But be very careful. Be very careful. I did miss one on my experimental trades, man. When you was taking the trade, man, totally took me off my concentration.
Was it a short?
It was a long. It was a long at 934.57. You got a long. You got a green bar at 934.57. This is on the 15R, and you got a. Notice people who've taken interest to this particular signal. You got a green bar with a cum delta bar that is red above the moving average. I did mark that. So yeah, that was not a bad trade at all. That was not. You probably could have made maybe about 5 points out of that, maybe a little more if you could withstand the pullback. But it's a 10-point run. I always chop it in half and use the worst case scenario. I probably would have got about 3 or 4 points out of that before they started pulling back. But yeah, this particular signal right here, the cum delta bar is red. The candle on the E-mini is green. And notice that cum delta is above that moving average. That's one of my new sniper signals. I haven't named it yet, but that's one of my new sniper signals. Just something for you guys to look at. Just throwing an idea out there for you guys. I did pretty well with it yesterday, but I have been looking at it for a minute now. Now Morgan, and Morgan, you know, I do have Bloodhound. So I am going to eventually at some point put that into Bloodhound and see how it comes out.
Finalizing the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to put it in Bloodhound. I'm going to put that signal in the Bloodhound at some point and see how it comes out. That is TDU's cum delta has Bollinger Bands on their cum delta. So what I did was I made the top band and the bottom band transparent, and that way you can use that middle band, that EMA, and change that number to whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I think I got my number set at 2021. Let me look at it just to make sure. Yeah, that's an easy signal. It's not going to fry your brain. Your mind's not going to be smoking. Oh, actually, I had mine set at 18. I did come down a little bit. Yeah, I had mine set at 18. So, yeah, that's and when I went up on the internet and started looking it up, there are quite a few people who stumbled upon that that particular signal. I don't know if they stumbled upon it or if they got it from somebody else. I stumbled upon it, and then when I looked it up, I realized there are a couple of other guys that are using that signal. They say they get some very good signals off of that, or very good trades off that signal. Doesn't require a lot of thinking. Does not require a lot of thinking. And I'm just looking at that I'm just looking at that on a regular 15-hour chart. No order flow or nothing like that, because sometimes I like to squeeze those bars together just to see, what's going on and so forth. So yeah, it's just running on a regular 15-hour chart. Nothing special. Yeah, that was today. That was today, Morgan. That was at that trade was at same time Magic pulled off his trade, right around 9:34, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 9:34 and 57 seconds. And also, this is on a 15R. You will, if your time frame is different, you might get a different signal. And one thing, I try not to do. One thing I try not to do is I try not to flood myself with a lot of signals. All you want is about 2 or 3 high probability. I call them high probability trades. I'm gonna call them high probability signals right now. All you want is 2 or 3 high probability signals and master that. Because if you sit here all day, man, we can pull out all kinds of trades, and you can sit there and you can have 10, 15 signals running in front of you, and you really don't get an idea of what they're doing. But yeah, just narrow your trades. Once you start seeing some trades in your footprint, in your order flow, just narrow it down to about, 2 or 3 signals. That's all you need for the day anyway. Trust me, because once you get those signals down, then your volume or your lot size starts to go up. And if you're banging 80, which is, I'd say 80%, but who really has 80% signals? Show me a person who has 80% signals. But, if you're banging a signal, and I'm not going to use 80% no more, with a high chance of making money, because I really don't know the numbers on that. If you're getting good trades out of that signal, just keep those 2-3 signals and master those 2-3 signals. Because by the time you get up to, and I tell Magic this all the time, I say, man, I'm not seeing a lot of trades, but what I'm starting to realize is as your lot size goes up, and you're snatching 3 and 4 and 5 points off a trade, and you're sitting there with 3 lot or 4 lot, that money starts to add up. So yeah, that's that trade went off at 9:34, and I totally missed it. I'm gonna blame Magic for that, but I totally missed it. It's all your fault, Magic. It's all your fault.
Magic account is green today.
Yeah, and that's something else, Morgan. When I see a trade going off on here, I do go back and look and see what the to see what it's saying on the footprint. And on this footprint, this ended up at that particular time, that was a dead bar. But nonetheless, the cum delta was red, the bar was green. And a lot of times, just because it's a dead bar doesn't mean you're going to get that signal. So don't assume it's no good just because it's a dead bar. And I think I told Magic this yesterday. When that dead bar comes with a red cum above the moving average, or vice versa, and I have an alert set for that particular, and it did go off because I remember just clicking the OK button when the alert went off. I have an alert set, so when those conditions happen, I do get an alert. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's going to be Tweety Bird. Let me see what my alerts say on that. Yep, Tweety Bird. Thought I saw a putty cat. Yeah, Morgan, I've noticed it, but did you get let me ask you this, Morgan, did you get a dead bar before or after that trade, or a couple of bars after? Because I think I looked on the 12 and I did notice the 12R had a dead bar also. No, it did not have a dead bar. No, it did not. 1235. No, it did not have a dead bar. No, the 12 didn't have a dead bar either. But I'm just concentrating that trade on one time frame. If you don't get a trade, you don't get a trade on your time frame. Don't try to figure out how to make it happen on your chart. Just wait for it to show up. Now, one thing about that particular trade, Morgan, I am still up in the air. Let me show you something, because I did notice this trade. I'm still up in the air about these bars that are straddling the moving average. And that's a pretty good hammer right there. But this bar is straddling the moving average, so my alert didn't go off. But, you know, see what happened on that. Look what happened on that trade also. Haven't made up my mind if I want to take those trades where that cum delta is straddling that moving average. We are in the middle of a range. Chop, chop, chop.
Yeah, keep it clean. I'm kind of with Morgan K on that. Keep it clean. Don't even have to sit there and think about that. If
Right.
it's working that well.
Yeah, that is the conclusion I came to. I said I'm not going to worry about those that are straddling or that's more below or more behind. It has to be exactly the way I want to see it, or nothing at all. I don't mind missing it because another bus will be along. Another bus will be along. Let me draw my ranges on this 15R. But this is just getting ridiculous.
Nope. Not ridiculous.
Not ridiculous.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know, Valtos talks about the 1 minute gold all the time, Morgan. But I'm just concentrating on one right now. He talks about that 1 minute gold all the time. He used quite a few examples on that 1 minute gold in some of his videos. I'm using hollow candlesticks. I don't like my candlesticks filled in. That depends on the person, though. You know, that's a personal preference. Yeah, Nadine, I use hollow candlesticks. For some reason I don't like my candlesticks filled in. It makes my chart look more busy. Yeah, everybody has a way how they want to look at those footprint charts. I like hollow candlesticks. But I do have the outline. You notice I do have the outline on the candlestick, so I'm close. I know it's an up candle. I know if it's an up candle or a down candle.
Listen, Blue Horseshoe loves Blue Star Airlines. Got it?
Got it.
Right. Marty.
Got a POC wave on the TDU. That's for the POC wave. That's that 3-bar combination that that Valtos likes.
Nadeem, there really isn't an advantage except to the user. If his eye follows the hollow candles better than a fill candle, it's the exact same thing, measuring the exact same things, just a little different look.
That's all
it
it
helps
is.
him see whatever. Yeah, that's really all it is. No advantage. It actually, you could classify it as trash if it's personally something you can't fix your eye to. So don't worry about it. I call his charts trash all the time. So don't worry about that. You're in good company. Welcome, by the way.
I tell you, when we was trading that money at Lynn Walnock, man, me and Brad, I would come in and he would have the weirdest colors on the chart. I'm like, man, what are you doing? He would have colors like you, Magic.
Oh, thank you very much.
No problem,
Okay.
no problem. He would have bright yellow, greenish red, and oh man, he would do them charts up. But everybody has a different look, for how they want to see the charts. Everybody has a different look for how they want to see those charts. They calling my charts trash, man. What's wrong with you, man?
Okay, I really would like to see a long push. I've got this weird feeling. I've got my long-term, medium-term, short-term charts all coming onto this bottom band in Bollinger Band. 3 different time frames are bouncing on the bottom band. Meanwhile, the 48R, which is the longest term I'm watching, is just on a pull back to the bottom of this. We're still in the range. We haven't changed anything, but this time it just feels different. Who was it? Morgan K. How far down did you say you had targets? 60? So
Nadeem, what we do here is we're looking at footprint charts. I don't know if you're familiar with footprint charts. And a lot of people, or well, I'm not gonna say a lot of people, but you have people who are definitely interested in learning how to read footprint charts. We are a little bit more into what's going on inside the candle, and that's what footprint is telling us. Whether we're looking at delta or the Kuhn, and it basically tells you who's in charge of that particular candle, whether buyers are in charge or sellers are in charge, and that's what we do here. We're just giving ideas on reading the order flow footprint chart. You're talking about engulfing. Well, you might get an engulfing candle, but inside that engulfing candle, say if it's a bullish engulfing candle, the numbers might not be there for that particular candle to go up, even though you're seeing a bullish green engulfing candles. And that's what these numbers are dictating. It's basically telling you what's going on inside the candles. Are you new? Are you new to footprint, or are you just trading candles for right now? And a lot of people get intimidated by looking at all the numbers, but trust me, it's not as hard as it seems. But once you become comfortable with it, your strategy will change. You will not take those bullish engulfing patterns as quick as you think you would.
if anything, if you traded bullish engulfing candles, we're not going to try to change that. We're just trying to give you a little bit different look at that same bullish engulfing pattern. And maybe that would enhance your win-loss ratio on the trades that you might be keying on. Now you're doing not only a price action situation, but you're also doing some sort of a footprint where you have a degree of knowledge where your buyers and sellers are laying in wait, or whether they're actually kind of waiting to push this thing up. A lot of times you get more of an idea of exhaustion, acceleration, and just generally, where your concentration of volume is. A lot of that comes through your footprint, where you don't necessarily see it when you're dealing with strictly price action. So that's the advantage of footprint, and it's something that we kind of preach here, that it's for everybody. It's a little bit intimidating, which is why we kind of started this whole thing, just to say footprint is an indicator that helps whatever it is you do. So we're not here to change your trading or your approach. You may get some ideas because this is also a gadget guy. So just kind of enjoy the flow for a while, and maybe you can pick up a few things that may just enhance what you're doing.
And by the way, I'm trading a range chart. I trade a 15 range chart. So what you're not going to see on a range chart, I don't think you're going to see a engulfing pattern on a range chart at all. You probably have to trade like a time frame, a tick chart or a minute chart to see engulfing patterns. Will I see engulfing patterns on a range chart?
Yes, you will. But it's going to be more of them because it's a range. You're always going to open lower and close higher if you have that pattern side by side.
Show me a golfing pattern on a range chart.
Oh, engulfing, where the low is lower and the high is higher. No,
engulfing.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, you would have to be trading a tick chart or a time-based minute chart in order to see the engulfing patterns on candlestick.
Time of volume, yeah. Yeah, Fly Guy, we are at that marker right now, and we're definitely paying attention to the type of action that we're going to get here. Are we going to get some rejections? Right now, the range is getting extended, kind of what we expected. Morgan K was talking about sideways ranges. So we are getting at least an extended range. I'm not going to say we're breaking out. I don't believe too much in those, at least. 10% of them I believe in. The other 90 don't necessarily get the follow through that you expect.
I'll be back.
Out of the long. You know, there's a lot of theories on those breakouts, but I have just, through the research for me, you know, even if you think about what the market is based on, uh, it doesn't go in a straight line. So what do you really expect when you get a breakout? And, you know, again, if you're getting a breakout and you're trying to get 2 ticks off the breakout, your odds are good. But if you're trying to get an extended move from breakouts, a lot of times we get disappointed, because it doesn't necessarily fail. It just wants to return to the scene of the crime where it broke out before it continues that same move. Fakies. No fakies, my man. You just got to take a different approach to that. Or, you know, come on over to the future side. You may find some of the indexes are interesting to you. Got plenty of the volume, got plenty of liquidity, some with plenty of volatility. So you can find your flavor. Again, I'm seeing temporary issues down here in this area. But we have definitely made a definitive move to the downside. The cum is definitely dropped off to a point that you don't know which way you're going if you're going to look at cum. All right, Fly Guy, I tend to ask you this all the time when we get to these lows. Is this a breakout? Or are we going to get some absorption? Nadeem, that's kind of something we stay away from as far as recommending a prop firm as such. A lot of our theory is that, how can I put it this way? Why pay to practice? So, you know, we really don't address that because everybody has their flavor. I know some people that have devoted literally a life savings into prop firms, and they're struggling, and a lot of them are actually having second thoughts about it. So I don't say yay or nay, because I'm sure if I looked around hard enough, there are enough of people that this has become something that they can stomach. I tend to feel that if you put the years in prior to you trading real money, you probably will end up with a higher profit margin and be a smarter trader. Because a lot of times the pressure alone keeps you from succeeding as well as you would like to in the prop firms right away. And I just adjacent it to something like paying to practice. So if you're going to do that, you know, I wish you a lot of luck, because there, believe me, we got a couple of folks that stop through here that deal with the prop firms, and guys, for real, if you've got some really good suggestions, you know, throw out a suggestion, but also give some pros and cons with your suggestions on this, because I have kind of a two-sided feeling about it. one of the largest things that I think gets missed when people get into trading is how much time it takes to learn yourself. And a lot of times you don't need the excess of whether it be pressure or anything else to really learn yourself, because a lot of things can be automated. And for some reason, the human factor wants to put their finger on it. And somehow it's a little bit better. But a lot of times it's an emotional reaction. And, you know, you want to take as much of that out as you can and replace it. This is the big part. Replace it with some critical thinking. That's the other part of the practice that we tend to leave. Why? We tend to leave out. You know, yeah, get rid of the emotion, get rid of the emotion. I agree with that. But you got to replace that with something, because believe me, your brain's playing tricks on you every tick this market moves, and especially if it's moving against you. Not only that, think about it. You're up 6, 7 points when you really just got in the trade for 10 ticks. And your brain starts playing with your emotions there as well. So replace the emotion with critical thinking, and I think you will find that your trading gets better and better as you practice just those two things.
Nadeem, how long have you been trading? I'm under the impression you've been doing it for like a couple years now. Because I tell you, I used to 2 years in practice. Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, I used to work at a brokerage firm, well-known brokerage firm, and when it comes to strategies and stuff like that, you know, I've seen all of the systems out here. There's nothing new under the sun, just a different variation. So
no, man, they got no way, man. I got to stop you.
What?
They wrap it in a different package. Just remember that.
Yeah.
So that's what's new.
Package. Right. Yeah. And you know, me and Magic, I think, when did we meet Magic? Back in 1990?
89 or 90.
Or 90 or something like that. And let me tell you, we did not have access to the information and the software that you guys have access to now. It's to me, it's incredible. It's incredible. And I have seen, when I worked at this brokerage firm, I worked in the systems division, and we had people sending us their systems, and, you know, we would rent it out to people, to the clients on the trade desk and so forth. I have seen every system under the sun. You can't impress me with no system. Every time somebody came to me and said, man, I got a secret system and I want you to trade it because it trades a lot of money. Yeah, okay. And bottom line is, nobody had the holy grail. You're going to put a lot of money into chasing systems, but the best thing I could tell you is just do your own homework and do your own thing. And whatever you come up with to make money, that's what's going to make you money. That's what's going to make you money, not somebody else's black box system.
If someone could have drilled just that one piece of advice into me when I was at 2 years, it would have saved me approximately $3,000. Literally. I mean, literally.
You're right.
Because I have literally been to a weekend seminar for $2,500 to find out that I knew just as much as the person that was standing on the stage. So what I found more than anything is there are a lot of one-trickers out here that, you know, no, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but there are a lot of situations that I find what you're doing is nothing wrong, because the journey that you're taking is what's going to develop how you're going to develop your trading. All the money you think you've lost, that is a cost of doing business. They say when you start trading, especially when we started, the cost of doing business was normally 5 to 7 years and about $15,000. That was 30 years ago.
Hey man, don't be telling
So,
my age like that, man.
hey man, no, you
let
got
them
me up on the soapbox. I will
let them do
stand
the
down,
math.
but
Let them do the
still.
math on their own.
But a learning curve is something that includes not only your time, but it includes your drive. And people don't think about it. Oh, I'm going to lose that kind of money trading. It has nothing to do with trading. It's the books, the videos, the tapes, and your time. It's the education. Thank you very, very much. It's the education you pay for the learning. And most of us do not want to accept that 5 to 7 years of a learning curve. That's just a curve to learn who you are. The other 5 years is going to be, okay, how can I take a little bit from this system that I learned, and this system that I learned, and this system that I learned. I talk about it all the time. Not bad having a library in your brain to be able to develop a system of your own. Then you have the Holy Grail. I'm off the
Your
box.
holy grail. Your holy grail.
The Holy Grail is yours. That's the only Holy Grail there is. The one that you make.
Yeah, that learning curve can be rough, man. If you're not around, the right. Lucky I met Magic back when I did. We grew together, and we went through some bumps and stuff, man. But today you got a lot of people on YouTube. Hey, I took $1,000 and turned it into 50,000 or turned it into 100,000. Yeah, okay. Show me that again. Show me that. Show me that again. Let me see you do that 3-4 times. Then you catch my attention. And that's what Magic meant by you got a lot of one-trick ponies out here. Yeah. I even seen a guy who he was trading Forex. I don't remember who it was, but the guy was trading Forex. He went long and his stop. He was trading, I forgot what time frame he was trading, but his stop was so far away that he couldn't get stopped out. He might as well not have had a stop in, and he ended up losing on this trade, but he didn't have to take that big of a loss. And what I told Magic, I said, this guy is not trading his own money. He's trading money that he made off of YouTube. See, when you trade your own money, you move different than trading money that you got for free. Trust me on that. You move a lot differently than you trade for money you got for free. But, those stories can go on and on. But yeah, get to know yourself, and you're going to have, you're in for 2 years. I think I got a coin in my pocket older than that, but it's going to be rough, man, if you're not studying the right thing and you're around the right people, man.
Best thing that could have happened to my trading was having somebody with a likeness of the same interests while I was growing through this. It really is it helps you because you're not the yes man anymore. It's somebody literally has said, wait a minute, man, that doesn't make sense. So literally, having a trading partner really can change quite a bit, which is where I think the chat rooms and streaming is trying to replace. But that quiet time that, I got a problem at 2 o'clock in the morning. No, I don't make it a habit. But if he hears the phone ringing at 2 o'clock, he knows something's up. And that's not a bad thing to have, because some of your ideas flow at some of the oddest times. If you've seen Wall Street, he says, bring me some information that I know nothing about. Don't just give me stuff that I got. And that stuff happens at 2 or 3 in the morning sometimes. Nah, Mo, I won't do it no more for the next week or so. But still, you never know when the ideas are going to flow on you. So having that trading partner, at least call them the next day and say, what do you think about this? And believe me, we do have a wave that we keep on the side, not just the one that says chicken, but the one that says Charlie Brown's teacher, like wah, wah, wah. You know, like he really don't want to hear it. There have been times that I've run an idea by my trading partner, and he gives me the Charlie Brown, and then 2 years later, he said, "Hey man, you know what was that you were talking about a little bit ago?" It happens. You know, plant a seed because you never know when something becomes relevant. You may change your approach, and all of a sudden, you know, I heard about this before. So put it in the library. Don't throw it in the trash bin. All ideas are good ideas, whether you paid for it and you felt you didn't get nothing for your money. You got something from it. Believe me, you got something from it. It just hadn't hit you yet. I introduced OrderFlow to TopStep 2 years before he decided to use it. Literally. And now he's all over my case about OrderFlow FootPrint, OrderFlow FootPrint. So things do turn around. $10,000. Yeah. My worst case experience was trading the bonds and losing 2,500 in about 15 seconds. Quite disappointed. Because guess what? I was trading the system of systems. We looked at this. How long did we look at that Top Step, man? Oh, I had this thing up and down, and I knew I'm going live with this one.
You just reminded me. You just reminded me before you tell that story. The name Top Step originated back in the 90s from some brokers on the Chicago Board of Trade, and they were selling a bond program called Top Step. That's how long I've been using Top Step. That's how long I've been using. This was back in the early 90s, the mid 90s. And I don't know if some of these companies out here that say they're Top Step are affiliated with those brokers from the floor, but that's where I got the name from. I like Top Step ever since the 90s. I don't know where everybody else is getting Top Step. I always say somebody's copying off me.
Yeah, well, I hate the name Top Step. All right.
Tell them your story.
No, all I'm just going to say is minus 2,500, 15 seconds.
Yeah, but
Top
you know what?
Step.
You know what? I bet you if you
And
looked,
then
I bet you if you looked at that system today, you would approach it a whole lot differently.
Hey man, it ran off 7 straight winners after I lost.
Right.
Yeah. Don't believe me. I kept looking at it, but I wasn't. No. And that was in the early days. I did not know how to handle a whipping like that. That was one of my scars and bruises. So everything that you go through is going to be a part of how you formulate your business trading plan. No part will be left out. Your brain will process everything that you have gone through. How many times you've knocked yourself up on the wall and said, you know, why did I do that? All of that's a part of the learning process because that's where you're learning yourself. All right, I am now a little frustrated because I'm not in anything. No, because you know I'm sitting up here throwing stuff out. I got comfortable with one trade today, and I literally had the same trade to the downside that popped off right around. Excuse me, right around the 1037 time. You know, I breached POCs 2 bars back. Finally got an up and a down, and it basically did not look back from there. That on a conservative. A lot of times I don't get my conservative entry, but in this particular time, I definitely ended up with a very conservative entry.
Yeah, we definitely had some trades that popped off. And let me show you how some of these trades pop off, even though my stuff is not lining up right now. Let's do some comparisons because, you know, even though my threshold is a little bit more stringent, you might want to start pulling these trades off just to understand how we doing this. And we're going to look at the 12 hour. We're going to look at the 12 range, and we're going to point out some trades where this is where my eyes automatically go. Okay, so we got a delta right here on this bar minus 204. Now this is a lower high, okay? And then you go back to the last high. Let's see what we're working with here. What are we working with here with the last volume? I want to say, my eyes keep going to this one because this is a positive number minus, this is minus 204 and this is a plus 115. I have no rules in where I'm comparing other than I look at, say, lower highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and so forth like that. So I would immediately go right here and I see that we got a plus 115 and then this bar right here goes to minus 204. You would kind of get it after you start looking at these numbers for a while. And when I'm comparing deltas, for some reason, my eyes automatically go to the 115, right? They don't go to this bar up here. They go to that plus 115, and then I say, oh, we got plus 115 to minus 204. That's possibly a short trade, right? Even though this pivot up here is minus 345, okay? Now you got minus 345, you got a cum delta of 52.66, and then when you get a lower high, the cum lowers to minus, not to a minus, but it lowers itself to 36.68, which is almost a couple thousand less buyers here. So that right there, this 304, you got this minus 204 right here with a min max. And when I say min max, the min delta is closing on the min or within, is it 10% or 5%? I think I have it set within the min max. And same go for the max delta. We got plus 323, but the max, when you see the symbol pop up right here, you got a pawn and you got a queen, and that's just to symbolize, that just symbolizes for me, a pawn is a small piece on the board, a queen is a large piece on the board. So I got the pawn symbolizing the min, the queen symbolizing the max. So you guys who don't know how to play chess, but anyway, yeah, you're looking. If your cum, and not your cum, if your delta, and let me circle this again. If your delta, this delta right here, I would want to see something smaller than 345. So at this lower high right here, I got minus 204, which is not smaller than minus 345. But when you go to your cum delta, this number 36.68 is definitely smaller than 52.66. So that is saying a lot. That might be a go signal for you. That might be a short trade for you, right? You got the min max. Then on the next bar, you got exhaustion on the ratio. Okay? Now, my ratio definition is the same as Mike Valto's definition. And I'm going to show you, let me show you guys of how I came up with the ratio. And this is the same way Mike Valtos calculates his ratios. Just for you guys to take a peek. And you go back on the video, and when you get a chance, you might want to freeze this. If you're working with Trade Devil, TDU, this is the ratio formula I use right here. You might want to snapshot that, or you just might want to freeze that for a minute so you'll know the ratio formula I use, because the only time I want that ratio to pop up on my chart is when it's 30 or greater or 0.69 or less. 30 or greater means exhaustion. 0.69 or less means defense. And that ratio, whether it's defense or exhaustion, it could pop up on the bottom of the bar, or it could pop up on the top of the bar. Right now, you see the ratios popping up on top and bottom. And it's 30 or greater. This right here is defense. That 0.51, that's less than 0.69, so that's defense. 30 or greater, that's exhaustion. So that's an example of how we looking at comparisons. Now, Magic has his own way of looking at comparisons also, and
I
that's what.
literally, that's a 12-hour chart you're looking at, correct?
Yeah,
Okay. I literally could take the exact same area using a totally different approach on FootPrint and come up with the exact same entry point
right.
after that pivot.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. How you look at your footprint chart is totally on you. Don't think that you have to be in sync with us. You might see something totally different, or might be looking at something totally different that we aren't looking at. We're not here to teach you, here it is written in stone, here's a buy, here's a sell. The purpose of the footprint is it just gives you information and lets you know here is a good place if you're thinking about selling, or here is a good place if you're thinking about buying. And you know, Magic didn't say, man, here's how you do this. You know, look at it, let me know what you see. And when you start looking at these numbers long enough, and trust me, when you start looking at numbers long enough, you start to see little anomalies that say this is a buy or this is a sale. That will definitely happen. And I just noticed that these deltas, and the only reason these deltas pop up on top of these bars again is because the volume on that particular bar is greater than the volume of the last bar. And that's KISS OrderFlow. That's a separate program, but I'm running KISS OrderFlow on top of TDU. That's what I'm doing. And, you know, you see some amazing things. So, you know, we're just giving you ideas on how we read OrderFlow. How you might read it might be something totally different. And yes, we are falling out of bed now. We're definitely falling out of bed now. Here's another perfect example. I'm sitting up here talking. Here's another perfect example. Let me show you this chart right here. This is a 15R. This is a 15R you're looking at. And like I said, people have different thresholds. So looking at this 15R, let me get my marker together here. Looking at this 15R, this is a lower high. This is a lower high, and we're minus 97, okay? This is a lower high, but you don't have delta there, and that's minus 105. I would have, if I was still just pulling the trigger just based on that without looking at the cum delta, I probably would have been going short on this bar right here. Is that right? No, on this bar right here, this minus 1067, because I noticed that the delta is falling. You got minus 97, then you got minus 105, and then you got minus 1067. So I probably would have got a scalp out of there. But like I said, I used to pull those trades off without paying attention to the cum. I got burned more times than not. So, you know, it depends on you, what you're looking for, and how you see it in your eyes.
Salty, this is designed to be a free classroom, but sometimes you may notice that one may be talking and one you haven't heard from for a while. Yeah, you guys are right. The market has definitely been falling. I haven't said a whole lot since about 10:38. There's a reason for that. I do not like to announce trades that I've gotten in that are successful. I love to tell you about trades that I'm not telling you about it before the fact and then say, yeah, I got chopped off. But in this case, yeah, I was in a short trade right around 09 in that area. So I took a little bit of a chunk out. And it kind of got, when you guys were talking about this market is falling hard, I literally was, you know, taking a nice piece out and saying, I left a lot of money on the table. because this dropped considerably. I caught a wave that was about 7 points wide, and I took 4.5 out of it as my ultimate target because I get a little nervous when I'm riding a Bollinger Band wave. So as soon as I see possible pullouts, I get a little nervous. But this was like a 1-bar pullout and continued down. So all of you who have held on to the shorts, I totally commend you. Seeing the short, and I used to say that that's always kind of a triumph. At least you saw it. That's all I'm going to say. And that's kind of how I feel. 4.5 points looks like a very small amount when you've got a 12. Is that about 12? Let's see, 9, 93. Well, 16. So, no, I didn't even get half of that run. But, yeah, thanks for saying a whole lot. But actually, I wanted to say one other thing. A lot of times, we don't trade past 11 o'clock. Very, very seldom are we trading past 11 o'clock. And then the way the market was going, I actually thought I was done after my first trade early today because of the range-bound situation. So this kind of happened up on me. Top Step was talking about the same area I literally was trying to take a trade in. And it got to be a little bit exciting for a while. But I also want to say, if you guys have a question, our focus would be more on addressing the question if it takes a while to answer, as opposed to one of us or either of us taking a trade. Because the purpose of the channel is educational. And the way I feel after all of this time, I can get mine. Some way or another. And if I feel that way one day and I take one loser, I'm gonna blame it on everybody in the room. But the way I do feel is I would rather address a question that somebody's been in this for 2 years, and as opposed to just I can sit on a trade or I can sit out of a trade. There's going to be, as my partner famously says all the time, there will be another bus that comes around, and there will be another situation.
You just sounded like the Godfather right now. I'm going to blame people in this room.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, if I take the one trade, just trying to be cool about it, and then I lose for the day, and it's like, okay, well, I got somebody to blame. That's one of my favorite psychological games to play. If I got somebody to, I'm catching a fly ball and the sun moves in my way, I got to blame. Story of a trader, just about every day. My whole thing is I don't want somebody to justify a loss all the time. If you're losing in strings, then maybe you're not quite in tune with what you're looking at in the market. Doesn't mean you can't trade. Might be not your day. Everything that should work based on these conditions and this location is supposed to do this. I've had days where I broke even, and kind of waited for that one trade. It came some days, and then other days it didn't. So a lot of times you find yourself paying commissions, waiting on what it is you want.
And one thing we did notice, and we noticed this, we quite hadn't put together yet. This was a couple years ago. We were like, man, we're losing today. What is going on? And we finally put one and one together. It's an inside day. And when I say inside day, I'm talking the high and the low are within a bar. I don't see too many people on the internet that have good days. And when the range is small, right? When it's an inside bar and that range is small on the daily, and we say it's an inside day, you're not going to get a lot of action. This is not an inside day. This is an outside day. Matter of fact, this is turning into a real good down day now. But the range, when the range is small and it's an inside day, troll the internet, see who's having a good day. And I just learned, leave the inside days alone. You guys can have the inside days. I'm not trading them. I'm not.
And I get it. My approach was, for a long time, beat your head up against the wall until you find the right type of trade. And I realized it wasn't about finding the right type of trade. It was more about changing your entire approach. If you want to trade an inside day, you cannot trade it exactly like you trade a trending day. So change your approach. You may find your success ratio a lot better on a conditional situation as opposed to I trade this way all the time. I hate that saying. This is the way I trade. But the market don't like the way you trade today. So, what are you going to do? You either sit on your hands, that is one option, or you change your approach. Take your pick.
I've heard that. I heard somebody say, I trade, this is my system. This is the way this is my pattern. Yeah, I've heard that. What a day, what a day, what a boring day. Boring day for me, guys. Not a boring day for some of you. Some of you might be pulling off a trade, but I'd rather sit on my hands when my cum delta is not at my threshold than sit here and try to pull off trades. I can't do it.
I'm just going to attest that to being old. I'm not going to say discipline. That's just being old. Coming into a 30-minute fair value zone to the upside.
Yep. 30-minute. We got a 5-minute going on too. On the buy side. Fair value gap, aka low volume node.
Oh boy, here we go.
Hey, I learned a new definition, man.
No, you didn't. Fair value just turned into a new package. That's all it was.
That's all it is. Yeah, I learned not new definition, just a new term. New term, man. Fair value gap, aka low volume node. And I never thought about it that way, Morgan, but you're right. No, man, I'm not eating Doritos, man. I'm eating pecan nuts. I didn't know it was so prevalent. I didn't know you can hear me like that, Morgan. I try to crunch those. You know, they had a commercial out years ago. Remember that commercial, Magic? Where the guy was eating Doritos and he tried to eat it real quietly. Oh, it was a funny commercial. Magic might not remember that commercial, but I remember it.
I'm too young for that. I don't think I was born there.
Yeah. Chewing is making you hungry, huh, Salty? I don't know, man, with the name like Salty Gravy. Every time I read your name, I think about gravy on top of rice or something. But yeah, I personally speaking, I haven't quite tightened up my game yet to the point where I can trade when the cum delta is below a certain amount. I just haven't quite tightened it up yet. So I just sit aside and watch everybody else play. Watch everybody else sweat it out.
And I will say this, it's not all psychological, because literally for him to feel that way, he's either gotten his rear end handed to him enough times that he believes that, or he's done some research and realized that a high percentage of the time with this kind of cum delta going on, we call it neutral delta, which could be 5,000 to minus 5,000 for you. It could be, a lot of different thresholds, but we found that in this type of area, we don't get a lot of follow through on trades. Now today, to us, would be more of an anomaly where cum delta is this low, because you realize cum delta has stayed neutral even though we've done a huge drop. Why is it that we're still, minus 370? And we're coming from only 2,000 cum delta to the upside. So I would think that this should have turned us at least 100% or 200% to the downside, at least 2,000 delta, which we're just getting to now.
And let me tell you, I did ask Mike Valtos last week in his pod class, or his webinar that he gives every week. I asked him, I said, man, what do you use? Because I wanted more direction as your bias. And he basically said what we do now. You make adjustments as you go along. That was basically his answer. He said, you don't come into the trade thinking you're just going to do longs all day or do shorts all day. And then he started pointing to the cum delta. And I said, that's what I'm doing. So, it depends on the individual, and and then he came off with something like, well, I don't use a bias at all. Well, you got to have some type of bias, whether you're going to be taking longs or shorts anyway. But
He kind of explained that in words that he does have a slight bias. It's just very short term.
it's just very short term, right? But at the same time, you made me forget what I was getting ready to say, man. I was getting ready to say something, man.
I'm real sorry about that.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, that gives me time to announce that I always try to tell you, we did have a close going in on the 12R. We did go into the bands at 11:08. We got a close on the other side of the bands. And this time we're making a lower low close, which happened at 11:21. And what we're finding is we're not getting that push on the other side of closing beyond the bands again. So a lot of times, to me, as I like to announce, just pay attention to this pattern. It tends to indicate that there is exhaustion in some form, more of a momentous form, not into a delta form, but more price action momentum. You're losing it because theoretically this band itself is dynamic support and resistance. And as you can notice, it's starting to peel away from price. Around on air, I would expect, but I always look at that area when I start closing, making new lows, and I can't get a close on the other side of these tunnels. A lot of times I'm closing trades out, or I'm closing stops a little bit closer if I happen to be short. So it's a lot of things that I tend to do because of the condition when I get in this type of area. I'm not saying it won't fall anymore, but I am saying this is kind of that hesitation that's going on. Why would we make new lows? Why are we losing momentum on the MACD differentials, if you use that, as we make new lows? Why are we only 2,700 down after we've had a run of over an hour and a half or an hour? That's, to me, is a little suspect. So I would just be cautious in this area about instituting any new positions if you're a scale in type of a person. If you like the runner, hold on. Just keep your stops in some place that makes sense. That's what you look for when you get in areas of interest. Not necessarily total action, but again, replacing your emotions with some sort of critical thinking. So now you're going to make a decision already knowing that you got yourself in a little situation here. Recognizing where you are.
I like to see the cum delta divergence pop somewhere in this area to the downside. I definitely.
Of course you would.
Pop. I would probably take that trade. And now we get a little bit of pullback. We might get that trade. I don't know why the Dow is falling, but the cash right now is down 163, and the NASDAQ fell all the way back down to plus 38. So we are.
I kind of think we're going to re-challenge this ROG number, if nothing else. 5,100 is pretty close, especially coming out of a big fair value gap. You already hit the halfway mark. This move would make some sense.
We say more drunk off of pecans.
Anybody in here into pistachios? I got a real question about pistachios. I'm looking for a pistachio aficionado. And if you are, what country makes the best pistachios on the face of the earth?
I only eat Turkish pistachios, man. You know that. I only eat Turkish pistachios.
Ah, all right. Now you can get on your box, my man, because Morgan K said the USA.
No, Morgan, you obviously you're not a pistachio connoisseur, man. Turkish pistachios are way better. Walmart, because the price is right.
I'm with
Oh
I'm
my
with
goodness.
Salty on that one.
Oh
There you
my
go.
goodness. Oh my goodness. You know, I was in Walmart not too long ago, and I said I can't take them pistachios, man. You gotta get into Turkish pistachios, man. I can tell you're not a pistachio connoisseur, Salty.
All right, Morgan, bring me back a bag the next time. We'll settle this argument. Get your finest USA and your finest YU in Turkey, and we're going to put them side by side. Make a video. Oh, the figs. Yeah, the figs out of Dubai. I used to have to go to their embassy a lot. Got tired of figs.
If this bar closes down with the green delta, that's going to be a cum divergence. Seems to be struggling right now to close up, but we'll see. I'm looking for a cum divergence to happen somewhere along here.
Here's where I am. I got a lot of acceleration off an area of interest that I'm in. I got them positive 55 on this pivot, and then I accelerated to a positive 369 on high volume. Single print as well.
So are you saying you
Like I
like long
said,
trades? Are you saying you like long trades, man?
I say I'm liking a long pullback that if you want to trade it, then hey, guess what? Have at it. We don't have Delta that's committed to the downside. I mean, I'm looking at some formations. No, I'm not saying somebody that's interested in longs, you know,
Even if you're looking at the
shouldn't do
delta,
this.
it seems like the red is overwhelming the positive over the long haul anyway.
Absolutely. That's that other formation we were talking about. Just looking at that over a long term on your screen, you've got a lot of red and you've got it on top of bars. So again, this is one of those areas, like I said, we just hit, this is like a Tupac trade right now, and it's kind of giving you a go to the upside. This would be an aggressive entry in this area. I kind of would hope for a down and a up as far as price action is concerned after this. But right now, I am looking at acceleration off of this pivot.
Hey, Morgan, do you see the prominent POCs on Citi? Or in the software you're using? Do they have prominent POCs on the software you're using?
Listen, Blue Horseshoe loves Blue Star Airlines. Got it? Got it. Right.
POC
Marty.
wave alert. Nothing to write home about. If I had to pick a direction right now, it would be, you just eyeball it, okay. It would be to the short side right now.
Breaking a trend line as far as price action is concerned. Trend line was down to the downside. So it's starting to pop that on the outside at this point as well. Again, guess what? We're on one of those days that we found that I like up and he likes down a lot of times. It's a big argument.
And when we argue like that, we both usually come out in the red for the day.
If we act on it, but lately I would have to say it has caused us to be more cautious, if
Right.
nothing else.
Right. Yep.
But this is, I have to say to you, this is one of my lab rat experiments right here, man. And I can't just deny it just because I'm arguing with you. This to me would be an aggressive move to the upside. I would love to see a one bar pull back and go, which would make things very nice. but we are showing some momentum to the upside. It ain't anywhere close to the 900, the 600, the 700, the 600 again to the downside as far as the high volume bars we've seen. But really start using the critical thinking. Those numbers are emotional right now because all those numbers to the downside, if you add them up, why did we only go 2 or 3 points to the downside after all of that red? And I'm really trying to look at footprint sometimes in a common
Two or 3
sense.
points over what time period, man? What are you talking about?
Okay, I'm looking at from when we started this whole mess. If you look at it just from 11-12, you got a lot of high volume.
Oh yeah,
A lot of high volume
Okay, you
with a
started from
lot of
11,
push
12.
to the downside. 900, 600, 700, 800, 578. All of that push to the downside, but yet and still, we didn't go much more than 3.5 to 4 points. That's got to be questionable sometime. Why are these sellers getting absorbed with these kind of numbers pushing only the downside? So again, that's emotion versus critical thinking in this point. Now all of a sudden you see something that you like to the upside. I'm not saying my signal, I'm saying your signal. You see something to the upside, all of a sudden it looks a little more sensible. Whether you make sense of it, whether you take the trade or not, but it makes sense to me now. That's what I'm saying to you. It took more bars than 1 or 2 bars to come up with that feeling about it. But at the same time, if you look at it from a wider view or a macro view, if you see those kind of numbers, you want to see movement behind them. Okay? Not 2 or 3 points or 3 or 4 points in 7 or 8 bars. You want to see 7 or 8 points in 4 bars. A big movement over a short amount of time. But that's not what you were getting. You got a drift, and then all of a sudden you start adding in little things that you may know. Like I may mention the fact that the Bollinger Bands were losing some momentum down here. And then you add in little things like a POC wave to the upside. Or you add in more that you see acceleration from 2 bars, from double-digit numbers to triple-digit numbers. There's so much that you can take out of footprint. Besides just the price action alone. And, again, if you like engulfing patterns, then again, you can make some sense out of these numbers.
Morgan, I think about that all the time about I wish I can post a screenshot when I'm on somebody else's YouTube channel. I think about that all the time. Yeah, I'll check out the email when I get a chance. I actually tried looking for the program the other day. I had a hard time finding it. Is that a program in beta? Somebody's beta testing that program, or I ran across a Russian website. Is that a guy from Russia? I think.
One, 1-8. Okay, look like we will.
This might be a short trade on the 12, maybe. You got minus 362. Then you go back to the last high. Is a plus 14. So you got minus 362 versus a plus 14. And on the footprint, you got 27 versus 32. Couple traders less, or a couple buyers less, but it's still that's a pretty big dip. Not big enough for me on the delta though. I would have liked to see like 500 or 600 or something of that nature. And actually on the 15, I do have a minus 735. Cume is sitting at minus 1455. I'm looking for some reason I am definitely looking for a Cume divergence though.
You know you have a 4 up in front of you, right? Of course, you're looking at 15. No, you don't know
I
that.
have a 3 up in front of me. That's why
Right.
I'm looking for a Cume divergence now to the downside.
I'm looking for us to at least kind of make sense of it. Challenge this '08 area. That's kind of where I think we're getting attracted to right now. I don't think this is quite over, and I hope you don't get that short.
Why, man? You don't want to see me make no money today?
Well, I'm feeling kind of strange, even feeling like uh, this is kind of a trade that I'm favoring to the upside, but that's the only kind of pattern I'm getting. That 4 in a row coming off the bottom to me on a range chart is just, I don't see a lot of V turns right off of it. I think it's got to settle first. So I'm still gonna have to stay against you. And then just to satisfy that feeling on FootPrint, we didn't decelerate on the way up either. We went from 346 to 1295. And hopefully that doesn't mean we shot a load on that bar and just turned around.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about.
I know that's what you're thinking about, so I wanted to dispel that so I
Shot
wouldn't
a
think
load.
about it.
You shot a load,
Yeah,
man. You disappointed
yeah.
that girl, man.
But literally looking at the numbers, we have accelerated. So I'm going to hope that this, and also I'm going to throw this in because you guys use the term dead bar so loosely when dead bar was derived from the differential in momentum on the MACD, which denoted dead bar in momentum status, not in FootPrint. But now you newcomers have just took dead bar to a new level and you just want to make it delta one way and bar the other way. But I'm
I'm
telling you the
guilty.
history here,
I'm
folks.
guilty. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty.
I'm going to tell you the history. And that red bar right there at 1136 is a dead bar on the momentum status. I'm going to have to always qualify it now because everybody thinks when you say dead bar, it's FootPrint. No, don't necessarily mean FootPrint yet. Yeah, Morgan. Now you're getting that feeling like I said, right around in that like I said, the '08 area. A lot of little confluences there. It's just past the scene of the crime that the breakout actually occurred. So a lot of mathematically, it's kind of symmetric. If we were to pull back into that area, it wouldn't surprise me if I got back there. If we fall a little short, according to excuse me, the LVN, 5 would be sufficient. 104. Okay, well that's where it starts. Ideal. I like the word ideal, and that's kind of where you always try to keep your runner if you're already got a piece on and you want to take some money off the table. But ideal is that last target, I would say. And guys, we are struggling just like the argument that Top Step and I just had. We are struggling in this area. He likes the shorts, and I still think the longs got a little bit of control here. We are building. At least we have high volume, so it's a lot of battle in this area, right around the Ragi number, as we call it, the 0000s area. Taking a long time to settle this argument. Uh-oh. I'm assuming 97.50.
And it's 97 3/4. Just get me down to 95.5. Come on, fill me, baby. Thank you.
Red. He's done that to me a few times too, believe me.
That you see, ladies and gentlemen, was a cum delta divergence. Let's go to that chart. That's a cumulative delta divergence on that trade. Let me move this target out the way. Ah, man. I was hoping to get more out of that cup of orange juice. But anyway, there's that trade to the short side. I'm telling you guys why I got in that trade. Delta, cum delta was green. Below the moving average, bar was red. I'm gonna call that trade the sniper. And that's what made me get in that trade. Along also with other things, because you can see, let me go to another chart. I did get a trade on my 15R. I got a delta trap at the same time on my 15R. I got a delta trap, I got a thin print, and I also got a bearish POC. And as you can see, I left money on the table. It's still falling. So that's I had, like I said, I haven't adjusted my ATM yet, but I'll take that.
And guess what? Based on all that I look at, I would have never caught that trade. I'm looking at it from just my perspective. I'm even looking at it in hindsight. There was only one way I would have been able to catch the trade, and basically that would not have been enough for me to make a move. I guess the third part, 1143, did 169 to minus 1500.
But on the 12, let me go back to that 12 for a second, because on the 12,
1143 would have been my trigger to the downside.
Yeah, on the 12, we did get a delta slingshot, we got a delta trap, and we got a thin print. And the delta went from plus 169 to minus 1319.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but guess what?
What?
I don't play 4-bar slingshots.
Oh, man, that's not 4 bars. That's on the 3rd bar, man.
No, that's a 4-bar pattern slingshot, because the slingshot you're keying in on is at 1134.
You don't play that. I don't know, man. That delta was a pretty big drop right there. You guys who don't know what we're talking about, let me draw my little lines, because I like playing with this marker. We got plus 69 right here. We got minus 1319 right there. That's a big drop.
And that's again, my trash is exactly your treasure. Correct. I play 1st and 2nd bar pivots, and that's basically how I at least keep my risk down. If If I get in on the third bar, my responsibility to that trade is to put my stop at the pivot until I get movement. I got problems with that. Psychologically, folks, psychologically. I see it's the right thing to do after this run, but I have problems playing a trade on the third or fourth bar into a run simply because of my beliefs that nothing goes in a straight line like that.
Maybe you need to go see a psychiatrist.
I am the psychiatrist. That's the problem.
But yeah, and that's probably the only trade I'll get for the day. That's probably one of the only trades I will get for the day. Yeah, but that trade right there, mark it down, guys. That trade right there
that's
is a
huge.
monster. That trade is a monster.
It is a slingshot. It is an acceleration play, and you have to make your own rules. Again, like I said, my trash on that third bar became his total treasure. So it's what you want. It's what you think will move. Commend it to you, bro. Don't like you didn't share none of the profits, but yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's a scalp. I'm gonna call that the scalper. I'm gonna call that trade the scalper. But yeah, definitely become comfortable with looking at those numbers. And that trade came in, like I said, Delta Trap, Bull Bear POC, but on the 12R, it came in as a Delta Slingshot, Delta Trap. You don't look at the Delta Traps, Magic?
Inverse imbalance.
You don't have it marked as a what you call it in your TDU, what you call it though, right?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's man, when you got that plus 169 and then it goes to minus 1319, you got to take the shot. You have to take the shot. So you saw what I was looking at something totally different, and you got that same signal. That a big difference like that, you got to take the shot. Even if I wasn't looking at the cum divergence, I would have taken that shot because of the big difference between the plus 169 and the minus 1319.
Next time we go play Baccarat, I want you to play a 7-level up as you lose strategy. And then come talk to me about what I gotta do.
I don't even want to discuss that Baccarat. I'm trying to keep, I had the urge to go to the casino the other night. I actually thought about it this weekend when I was, not this weekend, past Friday when I was at Jayden's play. That's how close I was to the casino. like a mile away. I thought about getting a couple of hands of Baccarat. And I'm gonna tell you guys something else that I'm learning, and it really kicked in about a year or so ago, and we keep stressing it. If you don't have a trade, sit on your hands. Don't try to make something happen. Wait for, and Magic calls my trade, you're waiting for the unicorn. Yes, wait for your unicorn to come to you. Wait for your unicorn to come to you. That's what Magic calls them, and I say, yep, I'm gonna wait for it. If I don't see that unicorn come out the woods, I'm not moving. I am not moving. I wish I had an emoji of a picture of a unicorn that pops up every time one of my signals pop up. I would love that. Makes trading a little bit more fun. That's about all. Takes the boringness out of just sitting here. I used to work with this guy named Russell, and we called him Old Man Russell, and he had a saying, and he was trading soybeans, And he would sit up there and look at the charts all day long and nothing would happen. And then he just started saying one of the sayings he said, 7 hours and 58 minutes of pure boredom and 2 minutes of sheer hell. I never forgot that. You sit there for 7 hours and 58 minutes just twiddling your thumbs, but when that trade comes, you gotta fucking take it. Period. You don't have time to think about these trades. You got 2 seconds max. You got 2 seconds max. If you don't make that move, you miss it. You got to take that trade when you see it. You don't have time to think about it at all.
I'm still a little pissed about not taking that long trade.
Kick yourself, man.
Yeah, because I could have talked a lot of trash even though you'd have made more money on your short, but that long was still there.
For you guys who don't know, Magic is a competitor. He used to be a professional bowler. So he is very, very competitive for you guys that don't know. He ain't having that. He ain't having that at all. Now he's trying to figure out a way. He's in the back of his mind. He said, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you.
On a sim basis only, folks. On a sim basis only. I'm sitting on this couple of $100 for the day. I'm letting you know that too. But yes, I tend to be a bit competitive when it comes to the sim accounts.
He is a very competitive guy. But yeah, when you and Magic knows, I see. Magic goes in markets. He goes in with limit orders. I've been working at a brokerage firm so long, they just train me to go in at the market. Go in at the market or go in at the limit. That's a personal preference. But I just learned just hit the market button and get in. That was definitely a momentum trade. Even if you had to put in a limit order, I don't think you'd have gotten filled.
You're literally on the limit order?
Yeah.
Well, on these Tupac trades, no, because I see it setting up. A lot of times I'll put the order in where I see it's going to, one tick above where it's going to close.
Right.
So a lot of those orders would be a little different. Literally, if you don't take the aggressive measure to that trade, though, then you're not going to catch it. You know, that's why I say I was kicking myself because, you know, I should have took it based on the acceleration I was talking about from that area that I was referring to.
And I actually got the open of that down bar. I very seldom get the open. I got the open of that down bar because usually I usually get like 2 or 3 ticks below the open, but they actually gave me the open of that down bar, so that was not bad at all. Yeah, Salty. He's a little salty right now. We talk trash. Me and him talk trash to each other, especially when we're playing World of Tanks. Oh, we play World of Tanks like crazy. We ain't got nothing else to do, man. We are tanking in the world. If any of you guys ever play the World of Tanks, that's a fun game. That's a fun game.
Literally, it's a trading psychology game.
Yeah.
Because what you do on that field will really reflect a lot of your trading style.
Yeah.
Find it funny how it's a parallel.
Yeah, the World of Tanks, we usually sit down a couple of days out the week and just go for it. We platoon together. If any of you guys familiar with World of Tanks, we platoon together, but we always see who got the highest score between each of us, even though you're on a 15-man team. So yeah, we had plenty of fun playing that.
So we got a very nice acceleration. The last two bars closed.
And after that
Positives.
run, the market just seemed like to come to a standstill again.
Well, let's say what we're gonna do at this level. I guess that's what you would call it. Well, we got another accelerated move down here off of this pivot. The structure's not quite as nice, but see if that pivot holds up.
It is 12 noon. The cuckoo clock is going off. Did your news page straighten up, man?
Yes, it's straightened up. It looks better than yours.
No, I'm talking about with the news coming through.
Yeah, it looks better than yours. I got to win at something today, all right?
And now I'm back to sitting on my hands, just waiting.
Oh no, this is normally if we were not broadcasting, this would be time I'd find something else to do.
Man, why are my alerts going off on the Can't figure out why my alerts are not going off on these divergences, man. Because I see another cum delta divergence just popped off 2 bars ago.
Alert that you put into NT8 or the alert that's coming off of TDU?
Alert that I put in an NT8.
Operator error.
Because I got a down bar here. I'm gonna have to look into that because I'm not getting. Last time I was looking at the chart because I was expecting it, but this one right here. Why didn't that alert go off? I'm gonna have to check into that. And that's a bearish move. Let me look at the bearish. Oh, the close has to be less than 8,000. I did put an 8,000
Threshold.
threshold on the cum. Okay.
So you cheated your own system, man?
I cheated my own system, man. But I felt that I told you I got gut feeling. You want some gut feelings, man. I can sell it all day long.
Folks, it will go on sale the first loss that shows up. So just hold out a little bit. The price of that gut jar will go down.
Yeah, I forgot on this chart. I did place an 8,000 threshold on that. I'm not going to change that though. Because notice it did go right back into a sideways range. That's bothersome. Oh man, Flint.
That's why you had the threshold though. Correct?
Yeah.
to keep you out of that kind of action.
Keep me out of that
So
sideways action.
theoretically, you should be 1-1, right?
No, man. A win is a win.
Should got a caution. 7.
And that was, remember I told you that was definitely on a pullback. I like them pullbacks, man. I like those
Yeah, we argued
pullbacks,
about
man.
that particular pullback as well.
Yeah.
I thought we had one more level to go, but I guess I was wrong on that one.
Yeah, well, after 2 or 3 bars, especially when it's pulling back like that.
And you know, it was funny. We talked about that same pattern when it got up there. I think we had shot a load on an up bar of 1300.
Yeah.
And then the very next bar, we talked about it yesterday as well, but we got up there with 1300, and then all of a sudden, you know, we have a down bar, which is really kind of telling. And I need to pay a little bit more attention to that, what trumps one thing over another. But yeah, that's getting to be more and more telling the more I see it. Nothing I can prove.
Yeah, and that delta went from plus on the 15R. That delta went from plus 1489 to minus 735.
Yeah, and then you get the same situation right around 1145
Yeah,
on the 12R.
that's a minus 2100 point flip. You know, when you really think about it, they had to go down 14 to break even, and then minus another 700. That's 2100. I should have been there on that pivot. When I think about how this delta number goes right here.
That's why I was saying a lot of this comes down to a critical thinking situation at times.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you need to have an account started just for kind of off the cuff trades.
Right.
That is not quite fitting into one thing or another, but it's more the confluence of a lot of stuff that you see.
Oh, Morgan, I meant to ask you, who is Wilson Grant Fisk? What comparison are you talking about, Salty Gravy?
Ah,
Nah, I've never seen Kingpin.
I have seen Kingpin.
What's Kingpin?
I don't want to even think about it when you've mentioned me as a professional bowler. I would dare not mention the movie Kingpin.
Oh, okay. Somebody dealing with bowling.
I don't know what you're talking about, man, if you want to call bowling. But it is a hustler's life, I will say that. Another one. All right, POC. We've got a POC wave show up on the accelerated plus 31, minus 478. Green to red, I call this kind of a setup for a big shift as far as accelerating from the pivot to the second bar. It's like people are starting to see that this may be a pullback. They're starting to join in. Kind of one of those quick wit trades again that you would expect to see at least a follow through bar to the downside. So you're really expecting to try to get through all of the bottom, but that's kind of what you're looking for. One of these trades again where you may say, you know what, just stick my stop a couple of ticks above the POC, not the bar itself.
So you're looking at, wait a minute, you're looking at this POC at 12:03:52 seconds.
12:03. No, this is a POC wave. This is not
Okay.
Yes, but the wave is coming at the same time. You're getting a lot of acceleration from the pivot itself, plus 31, high volume. And then you're getting another high volume bar at minus 478. A little bit marginal for me to act on. I like to see numbers 500 or better to be acting on, but comparatively, it is a pullback. I'm comparing a lot of situations. I'm hitting the top bar on the 6R tunnel, so there's a lot of other reasons, but this is like the ice cream here where you're getting the accelerated move. So again, not wanting to risk too much on this at the close of this bar, you know, this would be a short situation where I would definitely be considering at least trying to get a bar out of this. If you're a scalper, remember, if you're scalping 6 ticks, 12s, 13 Rs are great charts to really be able to predict a move for a bar and get your 6 ticks out of that 8, 12 ticks on a 1 bar situation. So this is kind of a great scalp to see.
What do you need this bar to do?
I would like to see this bar here because really you should be getting in on the bar at 1207 at the close of that bar at the 478. Mm-hmm. That closing price should trigger a move to enter to the short side. You don't want to see anything above the POC on the trigger bar, and you want to see at least 1 bar to the downside when it comes to, you know, as far as your movement. After that, if you're a scalper, try to get yours off and leave your runner. You know, leaving your stops above every down bar. So the big question on this trade, because you didn't have a lot of meat on the bone, of course, that's why I called it a scalp, but now you're trying to see if you can literally get through this support that's been pushing down the whole time.
Yeah, he did. For those of you who don't know what he means with meat on the bone, he's looking at the bottom Bollinger Band and the support sitting down here. We're at the lows of the day. That's 86 3/4. The Bollinger Band, I got it sitting at 86. So that's why he's saying it's not a lot of meat on the bone.
Right. That's what made this trip a scalp. You're expecting a certain follow through from the footprint pattern itself. And at that point, you're saying, okay, let me make quick decisions here because we have a situation where we may just turn up right in our face. So if you take yours off early, you're going to feel a lot better about giving back. This is at least a scratch trade, even if you want to keep your stops back. If nothing else, you should have at least a scratch trade situation. And that's just a way of managing a trade money-wise as well. A little more acceleration with delta falling. If I push the button, I'd feel a lot better in showing off on this, but still, this is kind of, at this time of day, I don't tend to push buttons too often.
Yeah.
But I do want to still point out things that we're going to be looking at between 9 o'clock in the morning and 11:30 in the day as well. So this would definitely be considered an accelerated move just based on the delta alone. Now you got your 1 bar. It's up to you what you do with that. It could be an all-in, all-out approach. It could be I still want to see what this runner's going to do because I like the pressure that's being forced downside. Everything is still accelerating. 31, minus 478, minus 680. So, you know, this is where you take over and manage a trade, or put it on an automatic teller and tell it what to do, so you don't have the emotional stress about, do I want to move my stop down? I know I like this kind of money. Whatever your reasons for setting up your ATM, it should reflect you personally. But once you're in it, the next rabbit hole to learn is, managing it. And that comes with 3 different sides: your entry, your exit, and each part of that will be a new book in the library.
Notice
Morgan, don't do this to me, man. Don't keep dating me like this, man. You already called my email vintage, so I'm gonna.
also notice that this pivot at the top of this 12, and I don't have alerts set because I don't trade the 12, but here we go. Let's bring this over here. You guys know what I'm getting ready to circle. Down bar, green cumulative, and that's a hammer. That's a hammer green cumulative too. So that's that on the 12, that would have been a short trade on that. Now, like I said, my thresholds are a little bit more stringent, but set your thresholds at whatever you feel comfortable with, or whatever you see that's more consistent, and that's a potential trade right there. You got a thin print. You got a bearish POC here, or should I say a prominent POC, not a bearish POC, but a prominent POC to the downside. That's about it. Then it goes from plus 31 to minus 478. Just giving you guys some examples of how I look at comparisons. You got plus 31 there, then it goes to minus 478. It came from 377 to only 31 on that pivot right there. So just something to think about. Just definitely something to think about. You guys can experiment with that any kind of way you want.
That's what I played as far as just the acceleration alone was what I was actually playing. We came to the same conclusions the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
you would have been in a bar earlier.
It's crossing the EMA, but guess what? That cross has created a hangman. That's a hangman.
Jab.
Yeah, that's a hangman right there. You see his little head hanging on the string there. So yeah, but that's a hangman. And also look at, and I'm also, even though this particular pattern is new to me, look at your candle patterns. I think somebody was in the room earlier talking about candle patterns. So look at your candle patterns, because the candle patterns on the Cume can be the same as looking at, if I showed you a Cume candle pattern and a regular data candle pattern, you wouldn't know the difference, not unless I told you it was a Cume. So definitely look at your candle patterns.
Hard rule, yes, but exposing that particular trade as far as why he took it, someone may feel that their weighted system, and I'm addressing you, Morgan, as far as the hard rules concerned.
Yeah,
at least expose that trade.
I'm hard on my rules because, like I said, I like to see this, I like to see that. But
yeah,
sometimes, man, I don't know if you're a jazz musician, you got to improvise on this stuff. You have to play what you see.
As well as you may be looking at 10 things and 7 of them line up. The hard rule may be on a weighted system as well. It's kind of how you choose to go at that. Like I said, it was funny, we teased about it, but he was talking about gut jar. His gut jar is for sale. Normally when he's popping on his gut jar, it normally sells for $99.99. You know, when he loses, it sells for $9.99. You know, but that is one of those gut jar trades that, you know what, we're like 60-40, but I really like the way this trend is rolling. That's a lower high, and that may be his overriding factor. A lot of times that gut jar, I'm gonna tell you, you can't say it's like a slot machine because you tend to, the older you get, well, I'll say the more years you have in it, your gut jar tends to pay off a little bit more as far as a percentage. So I'm not going to get on them
You know
that
why?
way because you look for too much, far as I'm
You
concerned.
know
But
why I use the
that
term? I
to
use the
expose
term.
that makes it easier.
Yeah, I use the term gut jar when I was trying to get into a. I think I told y'all guys about this prop firm I was trying to get into up in Chicago, where we actually went into class every morning and traded, right? And the guy who was teaching that class, he said a lot of times you're going to feel it in your gut. That's where I got that term from. He said a lot of time, a lot of trades, you're going to feel it in your gut. I call it a gut. I can just call it the gut jar. But he's right. A lot of times when that momentum is going your way and when things are lining up like supposed to, a lot of times you get that feeling like, you know what, I need to get in this. I need to get in this, and that's all it was. That's all it was. Those candle
Yes,
patterns are the same as if you were looking at a regular candle patterns on a daily chart or whatever chart you might looking at. You might be looking
I
at.
agree. I agree. Yeah, salty. Those gut trades make everybody nervous because you're putting in a piece of the puzzle that not necessarily you went through when you went through the
Right.
research part of it.
Exactly.
But so I
Exactly.
get it. But guess what? Expose your risk less in some different ways. Cut your lot size, shorten your stops, shorten your targets. Whatever it is to make you feel a little bit more comfortable. And a lot of times, most of my trades are designed to steal, to make a little and steal a lot. So in other words, be satisfied with a little bit of money and see if you get paid off, by Christmas today. So if you keep that in mind when you're trading on a gut, a lot of times that will help you get through that emotional side of it because that's what happens. Yes, it is outside of discipline, but how much of a library book did you actually reference, Morgan? You know, this dude got gadgets that he's probably forgotten about, and then he's in a trade and he said, you know what, this little page in the book might work here.
That's
Nobody likes that.
That's just like when you see me pull a trade and I say, you know what, this is going to go further than this, and I start moving my target out the way so it can fall further or rise further. That's jazz, man. That you're going with the flow. You're going with the flow. It's been the source of your losses, not mine.
No, I got to go with the fact that coming up through this, I would say I'm down on the gut side, but my swing is definitely
But it's
pointing
it's
the
not
upside.
you don't get that feeling. It's not something you can teach somebody. And you don't get that feeling on every trade.
And it's not a shoot from the hip.
And it's not a shoot from the hip. Exactly.
Yeah, and I literally feel the more you're in this, the better your gut win ratio gets.
But let me say something, Morgan. Let me say something, Morgan. If you're not used to trading like that, then don't. Don't try to say, well, Mo said use my gut, so I'm gonna use my gut on this. No.
Mo did say that. Yes, he did. He said it.
No, it's a feeling you get that this is going to move. This is going to be a move. You don't get that on every trade. Magic could tell you, I don't talk about gut every trade.
No, no, no.
So yeah, those even though all the numbers and stuff and everything was lining up, you're looking at a hammer or a hangman. What does a hangman say? Let's forget about the gut and forget about the moving average. What does a hangman say? That's how I looked at it.
Rejection. Rejection.
Yeah, it's rejection. Yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, man. I feel you on that. I feel you on that. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. I get it.
Gut trades are probably a less of a percentage of your trades than a counter trade should be. I'll put it that way. Because your counter trades, really, if you look over 100 trades, you probably shouldn't have much more than 20 to 25%. 25% is a little high, but you shouldn't have more than 20% of your trades being counter. And so, certain things are going to happen. I don't care and believe me, if you have developed a situation that you've become totally mechanical, and then you can apply critical thinking to those times that apply certain pressures to you. You know what? Sometimes I'd have to take my hat off to you, because sometimes, literally, I become human when I'm in a trade. Now, hopefully that means I take less money than I should have, as opposed to losing more money than I should have. That's what I'm hoping that equates to. But a lot of times your gut is even taking place during the trade. Like I was talking about this last acceleration trade I took. First thing I said to you is probably a scalp, because there's not a lot of meat on the bone. That gut is probably telling you something right there, that, maybe I should change my targets, or maybe I should be all in, all out, or, maybe I should really tighten up if I get down here, because maybe I'm greedy. That's your gut talking. Because the trade itself says, man, hold on, this is supposed to run. So just about every trade you take, whether you're mechanically managing it, you're using a lot of information that's coming in. Just like when you're pulling in a parking space, when you back out within 10 seconds, that hole behind you has changed. So that's the same thing with a trade. As long as you're in a trade, things are constantly changing. And from what I'm seeing is, folks in this room, they're paying attention to what's changing while they're in the trades as well.
Yeah,
Another little pullback, if you like, folks. Another little pullback.
yeah. Sometimes if you're not that's the same thing Mike was telling us when I asked him about the bias. You can't go in and say, I'm just going to take long trades no matter what is happening. You're adjusting to what is happening. That's order flow. You are adjusting to what is happening. That's all that is. You are adjusting to what is happening. And even that trade on the 12, even though that trade on the 12, let's go back and look at it on the 15. That particular trade on the 15, where's my chart at? That particular trade on the 15, that I did not jab into the it did not jab into, it just touched it. But yeah, that's I mean, if you want to put down hard rules like that, then put down a hard rule like that. Then that would make you comfortable. That would make you comfortable. Put down that hard rule like that. But yeah, that 12R signal, that depends on the individual. That depends on the trade.
Mr. Bean, welcome. And I just want to say to you that you have an open invitation at all times. I would just have to say to you, about time you made it.
Yeah, Morgan. Just tell you what. Just cancel what I just said. Put a stiff rule on your rules. You will not take a bar if it's jabbing on the other side, even if it's a hangman or a hammer, even if it's jabbing on the other side of that moving average. There is a I don't know if you're familiar with Bloodhound, but there is a condition in there, and he calls it sloping moving averages. He calls it slope moving averages. So, you know, if that condition is there where that moving average is sloping, it doesn't make a difference if that bar is on the other side or not. If that moving average is sloping, that's a condition to take a trade.
I would literally say to you, Morgan, break that trade down into two categories. One that does touch and one that doesn't. And I would really like to see what you come up with. Does it matter in the long scheme of it all? I think I would probably approach that situation from that perspective. Because if you treat it the same and then you lose, you're going to throw it out. And if you treat it the same and it's making money, you're going to ignore the fact that it's probably losing over the long run. So I'm going to tell both of you guys, do the homework, because really it's going to come down to the individual, how he wants to take advantage of that trade and exactly what he or she may want to see. It's interesting because the trade is really a high win-loss ratio so far from what I've seen over his, at least the experimental times and then walking forward times, and now to at least introducing live times, which is over a period of time. It shows the consistency that we're looking for. You know, the rule itself on a raw basis works on a high percentage at a time. We're talking about adding vanilla icing versus chocolate right now.
No,
so I would probably take that into no argument at all. I love it.
Right. No argument at all, Morgan, because you brought up a real good point. A lot of people, they need to be told what to do. I'm the type, I can improvise. So yeah, I get it. I totally understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, approach it two different ways and see if it makes that kind of difference, because quite honestly, it being introduced in the real time now gets us a chance to go back into the lab and say, okay, you know what? I need to challenge that myself and really have an answer for that, because it's a relevant question. It may not make a difference. He may come back into you in another month and say, you know, I really took time on that question, and 50-50 flip a coin, take it at your own risk, unless you have something else that gives you a definite answer. But the unicorn is the setup to me. How you move on that trade, like I said, the icing flavor is what it is. See, Morgan would like you to concierge this for him now. Morgan, that's my job, to take all his skills and set up my stuff. Now you're starting to move in on my territory. It's an extremely good confluence. I hate to give him compliments publicly, but yeah, you're right. He's actually touched on something that draws my interest a lot quicker than normal. So I'm gonna have to give my man a little bit of credit on this one.
No, Morgan. Hey, Morgan, that's not my homework. That's your homework. That's your homework. That ain't my homework. I'm okay with it. But like I said, this is a new signal I just came up with.
Listen, Blue Horseshoe.
This is a new signal I just came up with. I stumbled upon it like last week on being on my cumulative delta rampage. So yeah, no man, that's your homework. Matter of fact, it's due tomorrow.
And I will say, it is something that I think we all should be looking into. I stress this like anything that we bring on this stream. If you take it, run with it, make sure you do your homework to see if it fits, folks. It may not fit your personality, it may not fit your money strategy, whatever it is. Put it in your library and test it out for yourself.
Yes, yes. And Chester Bean said, different set of eyes always opens up something new. That's why I said that's what we're looking for in this channel. Different set of eyes. Tell us something we might or might not be doing that that can help us realize something. Yeah, man, strict teacher, man. I took music lessons. I took music lessons all my life. The lesson was due the next day. Clarinet, saxophone, piano, take your pick. That lesson was due the next day. So yeah, that's yeah. It's just something you might want to look into, and without FootPrint being on that chart, it's very easy to go back and just say, hey, I'm gonna go back on this chart and I'm gonna put arrows on all of those signals that came like that, and then see which ones came that. And matter of fact, there was one early, and I said, no, I'm not gonna take that one because that one's stabbing the moving average. I forgot where it was at, but that one. That on the 12R. If I was looking at the 12R, only the stem was stabbing that. So I probably would have made a call to get in on that one. And it's a hangman, like I said, that's a hangman.
I got a question, or maybe just a viewpoint with that same issue that we're talking about right now. Why not look at that as if you have a trend line that you've drawn? It's never really perfect. You know, as long as you don't get a close above it is what you start worrying about. If you're pulling back and you want to, let's say you're pulling back to go the other way because you're coming to the bottom or top of a trend line. You know, a lot of times you get that hangman, especially that jabs above the line, but you still have a close below if you're going short. So I kind of look at this jab as an imperfect trend line. And that's just my take on it, but it would kind of help me settle the questions that have been answered as far as that one is concerned as well. I would consider that still staying in context of the trend that you're trying to play, simply because you haven't shown any commitment of closure above that so-called, we're going to call the average line all of a sudden a trend line. And that might be a way that you can approach it, especially if you have an overall bias going in that direction with some other things that are kind of overwhelming in the back of your head as well. You know, I don't know if that would make a whole lot of difference to me. Even if I decided, well, maybe I'll play less contracts because I get a jab. You know, I still think I want to take advantage of everything else that's going on around this pivot, as well as what I think is a golden unicorn situation.
Very well put, Mr. Gray. Very well put.
Sometimes, man, sometimes I can throw the ball a long way.
But yeah, I'm definitely at some point I'm going to plug that into. I'm going to plug that into the Bloodhound and see how those work out history wise, going back a ways.
Well, folks, looks like my nap time.
Yep, we're going to call it today. It's 12:30, 12:36 to be exact on computer time. We will see you guys tomorrow. Good conversation. And Morgan, your homework is going to be come with another hard question every day. Give us something to talk about. I love it.
Yep, I love it. I have certainly enjoyed the company, folks, and hopefully we will get the chance to talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.